Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we're discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 4, Episode 15, Sons of Mogh. Worf helps his brother Kern deal with his lack of honor.
That sounds like a great premise for a new show.
Oh, it does say that.
But we're here to talk about this episode. So what did you think?
This episode started off well, and then sort of meandered around a bit, and then completely went off the rails.
Descends in a horribly questionable decision.
Yes, we've talked about Bashir's interesting interpretation of medical ethics. I think this one takes the cake. If there was any doubt as to whether Bashir is fit to be a doctor or not, this pretty much proves that he's not fit to be a doctor.
Are you sure you want to erase his identity? All right.
So you brought this guy in and you want me to basically give him severe brain damage. Are you
Permanent.
sure? It's permanent. Yeah. Okay, sign here. Okay, alright, on we go. But it didn't even get him to sign anything. It wasn't even that serious.
And so Cisco allows this. He's all right with Worf attempting murder and causing someone irreversible brain damage.
Okay. Interestingly, attempted murder doesn't seem to be a crime.
Yeah, that was so weird. Odo said, "You better hope he lives, because I guess he can't be charged with anything if he lives."
He didn't actually state that now I think about it, but that's the impression I got. He says, if he dies, you'll be charged with murder. Kind of implying that if he doesn't die, you're scot-free.
Yeah.
Because surely an attempted murder charge is almost as bad as murder, although I never quite understood why people get a bit of a pass for being incompetent. Also, after Odo says that, everyone just leaves Worf alone.
It'll be fine. What could happen?
I don't know, he could kill someone else, or kill himself, or anything. He's just tried to kill someone. Also, okay, I'm starting to rant now, but what he was doing was not murder. Or, it was more like euthanasia.
I don't know how Federation interprets ritualistic killings.
Oh, they don't. Cisco was quite clear that this is exactly the sort of thing that really annoys him.
When you plunge a dagger into a man's chest.
Well, if it's on the station, he's quite happy for people to go do it elsewhere. Dax has gone and killed a few people, and so has Worf in the past, but not on the station.
Shed your blood outside the station.
But even then, it seems like they would be more okay with euthanasia in the 24th century.
I guess it's the process they took. How he has a knife and he stabs him. It's not exactly humane, as most euthanasia processes tend to be.
Well, they're not exactly human.
Klingonane.
I guess my point is euthanasia okay in this universe, in this story? It just seems like it should be. So it's very odd he's so angry and they all just regard it as murder and can't actually see what the point of it is.
We've already said Cisco is intolerant of Ferengi, so maybe he's intolerant of Klingon as well. Can't stand all their rituals.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me.
Any chance to yell.
Okay, despite the nitpicking, I do want to say I did like most of this episode. I thought the ending was a cheap out, but other than that, it was good. There's a lot of Klingon stuff, which is always good. And Worf's brother, who's appeared before in Next Gen, he's a good actor. So it was the sort of dynamic between him and Worf is entertaining to watch.
I liked this episode too, and I enjoyed all the Klingon stuff and arguments about honor. But I have to ask, is this type of episode a tired plot that you see a lot in Next Gen? Is this sort of thing a retread where it revolves around Worf struggling with his identity as a Klingon and as an officer of the Federation? It seems like something they would have explored a lot in Next Gen, so I'm curious about that. This all seems fresh to me, but do people carrying over, are they tired of this?
The answer, I'd say, is yes. You know how Dex always has episodes about her past lives, and O'Brien always has episodes about things being really bad to him for no apparent reason. Worf always has episodes about him being a real Klingon and how he doesn't fit in with other Klingons. So yeah, they kind of have lifted this same underlying episode sort of seed from Next Gen, so it can feel a bit samey. But I don't think it matters that the episodes are themed to the characters' traits that much, because there's so many stories you can tell with one idea that it depends more on the story than the idea, usually.
Right, there's plenty to mine from that idea.
For sure. It's fertile ground. I guess a good example would be Kira. She has episodes like Duet and Necessary Evil, which deal with her past and are a lot of fun, but she also has episodes which deal with her past and involve Bajoran farmers and religious stuff, which are boring. And they both stem from the same idea, but the power of the story is usually what carries it.
That's an important distinction to make. It does limit the kind of stories you can tell, but you still have so many options. It's not so restrictive that it would feel repetitive. It could feel repetitive, but with some maneuvering, it doesn't.
It leaves a lot in the hands of the writers, and thankfully, at this point in Deep Space Nine, they're pretty good, so it's not a problem. I think it's just a symptom of the severely episodic format.
What do you mean by that?
Well, because everything's individual little episodes, so every character episode has to play into that character's history or whatever. And because they intend you to maybe miss a lot, they always have to pick the key thing about that character and expand upon it in some unexplored way. They can't pick something more obscure, or you would be lost and confused if you only watched a handful of episodes. Like, they're always thinking about someone who's only seen like 5 other random episodes coming into it. So because of that, you end up with Worf episodes about him struggling with being a Klingon.
In a way, it's kind of a shame because they have to reestablish this thing that they've already established several times. This is the first season we're with Worf, and they've already gone over how he is a pariah several times.
It's like in season 1 where Dex kept mentioning 7 lifetimes.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
It's like Worf's gonna just vent his opinion, but he's gonna preface it with, as a pariah, my opinion is this.
I have a unique perspective as a pariah.
as a Klingon who never really fit in with other Klingons.
This is sort of related, I guess, but I want to bring it up anyway. I loved when Kern says, "I hate this uniform," and you think it's a metaphor, but then it turns out it's just a comment about the garment itself, not what it represents. That made me laugh.
Oh yeah, that was great. It's a shame Worf didn't say, "Take it to Garrick's, he'll adjust it."
Oh yeah, what a missed opportunity. I got excited. I thought Kern was going to join us and become a fixture as a security officer, but he only lasted one day.
That is a shame. Even if he just stayed around for a few episodes, it would have been so cool. Because, well, you got one Klingon now. Why not have a bunch of them? They're fun.
Right, the idea of having several Klingons or two Klingons on the station. Oh, I was so excited. They teased us. That one scene with him as a security officer was pretty good, where he tells that guy, "Hey, you gotta open this thing."
It's probably the best scene we've ever had of security doing their jobs.
And then Odo nods approvingly.
Yeah, he loves people being stern. Is it weird that he was so angry at Worf in this episode? He says, "You'll owe me, and I'm a man who collects all my debts."
The tone of that scene was weird.
Was
I
like,
didn't know
what's
how to
Worf
take
done?
that. Yeah.
Which is stupid, because 2 episodes ago, Worf saved him from losing his job. When Shakar was visiting and Odo just went off the rails, Worf saved his job, and now he's like, "Oh, you owe me."
And they also recently bonded over how they like to turn people away from their quarters. So I feel like we're missing a scene or something, because that was strange.
I think they just slipped up a bit. Or maybe Odo was having a bad day. He hadn't vented to Quark recently, so he was all pent up.
Oh, Quark. The interaction between Dax and Quark in this episode is perfect. So she brings up Adanji, and then he asks, "Is there something special about Adanji?" And then she simply walks off. And then I reimagined that scene having been written in season 1, and the way it would have played out is that Dax would explain that Adanji is something used in ritual killings, something that we've already figured out because of the context. So what they did here honors the viewer's intelligence, and they also get a joke out of it, leaving Quark miffed.
It's a big step up. They're more confident about what they're writing, and it works a lot better because of it.
It's probably a combination of things. I mean, we don't really know, so let's speculate wildly. They're more comfortable with the characters. You mentioned they were given free reign, basically, because the ratings were poor. So it's likely it was a combination of things.
Perhaps they always wanted it to be written in a more intelligent way, but only now. I don't know. Who knows? It's just speculation. I have a few criticisms.
I'm sure you do.
Actually, we've gone over a few of them. Here's one. Odo calls Worf to subdue a Klingon who is armed with a knife. Presumably, Odo is immune to being stabbed.
Yes, he should be.
So, in what way was he having trouble subduing this guy? Why would you get someone that is not immune to being stabbed to do it?
He was sad because of Kira, so he couldn't do his job.
Bashir. Okay, we haven't talked much about how Bashir is practicing criminal medicine. I don't think we need to discuss it. It's fairly clear that he should not have essentially murdered Kern. whilst leaving his body alive. But something he did other than that was he just joked that Worf was ugly, and then Worf looked really sad.
He threw in a JK in there.
He did, didn't he? Did he say just kidding?
Yeah. Or only kidding. Something close to that.
They're very ugly. How? Uglier, that is. Joke.
I got it.
That's terrible. That is appalling bedside manners. I suppose he made it up to him by brain damaging his brother, so I'm sure Worf is indebted to him. There's a couple of errors as well. One is that Kern cries. You see tears on his face.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think it's in Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country. They say Klingons have no tear ducts and cannot cry. Although I think if you didn't have tear ducts, it would mean you could not stop crying. So I don't really know what that means. So that's a whatever mistake. Who cares? Another one that's kind of funnier, but along the same lines. At the end, Worf says, "I have no family."
Right.
He has a son. Yeah, he forgot about Alexander.
Oh yeah, that kid.
But contextually, he meant, "I don't have family within the Klingon Empire." Just the way it's phrased makes it sound like he forgot he has a son. Oh well, we all tried to forget too. Did you have any criticisms?
I thought it was weird that you can check who is in someone's quarters at any time. Dax asks the computer who's with Worf, and it tells her.
She's a senior officer, so she should have permission to do that. Although, again, like you pointed out before, Kern doesn't have a com badge or anything, so how does the computer know who he is? Or it didn't say.
Yeah, that's another thing. I don't understand how it identified Kern without a badge.
Did it identify him, or did it just say one of the person?
I think it identifies him.
Computer, locate Commander Worf.
Commander Worf is in his quarters.
Is he alone?
Negative. Captain Kern is with him.
Come on.
So, you relinquish your right to privacy if you have quarters on Deep Space Nine? Anyone can check who is in your bunk?
Yeah. Is that a problem?
That does sound like something Odo would enforce.
Oh, absolutely. He is extreme, if anything, in his authoritarian approach to security.
I had another thing I wanted to praise, and that's the ritual scene. I thought for sure Dax and Odo would barge in before Worf lowered his hands. We actually see it sticking out of his chest. I didn't expect that at all.
They did a great job of misleading you because it's Star Trek. Of course they get there before and he stabs him, but then they don't.
Yeah, they find out, okay, he's in there, he's about to do a ritual, we need to stop him, and then he raises his hand slowly, camera lingers, you think, they're about to stop this any moment now. And then he stabs him. It's pretty shocking.
Whenever they play against the cliches, because this show is fairly rife with cliches, or whenever they play against their own hammy writing, which they sometimes suffer from, it works so well. It's so surprising. We have not mentioned about the B plot at all.
Because it's not worth mentioning.
It was good. We always say if you want to solve a problem, throw O'Brien and Kira at it. So with a B plot with O'Brien and Kira, in their spare time, they managed to like prevent a massive amount of space being mined and millions dying.
They eliminate the catalyst for a war.
They haven't even had lunch at that point.
Kira slept through part of it.
Well, when it's O'Brien and Kira, problems become solutions.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to the part where I ask you about quotes and you give a quote and all that stuff. That was me asking, by the way.
Oh. I have just one question. Does he know how to use the stun setting on a disruptor?
The interview process for becoming a security officer should be much, much more thorough. That's terrible.
This explains the ineptitude of Odo's crew. Now I understand why they can't secure anything.
I wonder if it's just an interview question, like, it doesn't matter if you say yes or no, as long as you give a good reason. No, I don't know that saying, but I'm really interested about learning on the job. I'm a positive, team-driven, goal-oriented guy. Okay, you can do it.
It's all a formality. He decides to hire people before they even go through the interview.
Well, his CV was actually pretty good. He had security experience inside the Klingon Empire, which sounds probably harder than securing DS9.
Probably, yeah.
He didn't factor in that he was trying to commit assisted suicide just like the previous day.
Odo's cool with it.
So he should have said, I have two questions. First, the stun disruptor thing. Second, is your brother's mental health still in tatters? Because if so, he's definitely not fit to be a security guard.
Why was he surprised that he had a death wish?
I don't know. Oh, that guy that was trying to die yesterday is still trying to die today.
Who could have seen this coming?
You humanoids and your death wishes. We'll never understand. I think it's time to call it quits and move on.
With our memories intact.
Yes, but, well, before I go, I just want to point out one thing that will probably reframe the episode for you if you ever watch it again.
Uh-oh.
The actor who plays Kern is Tony Todd, who's already appeared once in this season.
Who did he play?
He played Jake Sisko.
What?
Yes, same guy.
Oh, wow.
So if you ever watch it again, you'll sit there thinking, Worf's brother is old Jake as a Klingon.
That's pretty wild.
Actually, that's unfair because he plays it really different, and it's very difficult to even see them as the same.
Not a lot of overlap
person.
there.
No, not really. Although, it's funny that both characters he played tried to commit suicide. And
I didn't
succeeded.
even think of that. They should have had him interact with Jake the Younger.
No, because they look exactly the same, so that would be really weird. That was a terrible joke. Okay, anyway, we should go onwards to whatever is next.
Sounds good.